All right, man. Everyone's seeing this. Hey, man, it's me, and I'm ready. I'm finally going to do my Avengers review. I've been in New York. I've been busy, so I haven't had a chance to do it. But I've thought about it a lot, and I'm ready to go. I normally, when I'm in Los Angeles, we have office space at WeWork. Our office, the Smodco offices, are in a WeWork building. But when you have a WeWork office space, and it's a cool idea, it's like a bunch of, you don't have to have your own office building or office space, you share it with a bunch of other cats. When you do that, no matter where you go in the world, you can enter into a WeWork space. So I came to a WeWork space in New York, down in Chelsea. Look at this. This is work. Can you imagine? Like, you know what this reminds me of? If you've never seen 9 to 5, like in the third act of the movie, spoilers, the ladies like put together a way better working environment and stuff. That's what this shit looks like. It also looks like Big. Remember the movie Big when Tom Hanks was a little boy and he became Tom Hanks, and then he had an apartment in New York that looked like a little boy's apartment? That's what this is. Look how fun this is, man. Everyone's eating. Look at that. Is that tacos?
Yes, sir.
Tacos for May the 4th. What's your name?
Oscar.
Oscar,
Big
man.
Fan, comic book hero, favorite show.
Let's take a
Love
picture.
It. Yes, sir.
That wasn't planned. I'm going to take a picture of him, take a picture of us.
I'll get my phone working.
So explain, today's May the 4th. Is that why all this free food? And Cinco de Mayo. More importantly, right? May the 4th.
Food and liquor?
Listen to me, that's true. All right, so throughout this place, you got a bunch of people walking, but it doesn't look like work at all. Look at them. And they're all young. Everyone's here. I'm like the oldest person by about 25 years. Look at these long-ass work tables. It's fantastic. And then you come over here. They got a bar. Look at, I'm no bullshit. Like, first off, look at this spread of food. Oh my God. But more importantly, look at the bar, man. I'm gonna jump in real quick.
Get in there.
Look at the taps. What kind of fucking job is this? All the free coffee, man. It's just gorgeous. Hey, how are you guys? Thank you. Look at the atrium. Like, I don't understand. Like, fucking, this don't feel like a job at all. I would be happy to come to work here every damn day. They got one waiting for me, and everyone, thank you. Everyone's friendly, and look at how everyone works together and stuff. Like, but these are offices. This is the modern version of the office. Look at this stuff. There's a platform down there with couches. Everything is like crazy homey, man, and it creates like a working environment where like you meet new people that have nothing to do with your business, and all of a sudden you're sharing cool ideas. It's crazy, man. Right over here, there's a big ass conference room that goes all the way back. Real nice. Sorry. You guys, everyone's enjoying their holiday food, man. All right, I'm almost where I gotta go. But this is, I like my, can I go in here? Thank you. I like my WeWork space in Los Angeles. I'll be honest with you, this is the fucking move, man. If this was where I worked, I'd come to work every day. All right, I'm gonna get comfy because we're talking Avengers, man. I'm ready for this. Before we go any further, spoilers. Big time fucking spoilers, man. Spoilers from Chelsea. Chelsea, down here in Manhattan, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. We're talking about, this is Doctor Strange country down here, man. Down here is where the Sanctum Sanctorum is, so this is a good place to do this review. Okay, so the idea is I'm going to talk about the movie and there's going to be spoilers and stuff, so if you haven't seen Avengers, Infinity War yet, fuck off. Because I'm gonna talk real. I'm gonna tell you real things about it and stuff. Spoiler talk. So if you haven't seen it yet, this video will be around forever. Come back when you've seen it. Everyone left the room who's not a part of this? Fantastic. I loved the Avengers, Infinity War. It goes without saying, I'm in the bag for these Marvel movies, of course, but this was a stunning achievement. This film was epic. Epic in the way that old Hollywood movies used to be epic, like Gone with the Wind and stuff like that. And that's tough to say in a digital age, because in the digital age, it's really hard to get that epic feel going, because ever since the Lord of the Rings movies, We know that like all those bodies, man, when you see like all these bodies coming over a hill, a bunch of orcs and shit like that, they ain't real. That's a bunch of persons in a room with computers going zeros and ones, and creating a look. And it's fascinating to look at. But now the audience is so trained for digital and CGI that very little ever truly feels epic. Not Infinity War. Infinity War felt large. Like the whole time I'm watching the movie, man, I was like, they spent a couple $100. Like, my God, they're back. They got to make at least $10,000 to get out of the hole on this movie. You could tell they put the money up on the screen. And also they did something that very few people could ever do, man. Since they had a bunch of movies, basically telling singular stories leading up to this big event, you could trust that the audience understood things that were happening, details about characters and about relationships from all the previous movies. Kevin Feige, the great Kevin Feige, God bless this fucking man, my favorite person in the world right now. Kevin Feige had the good sense, man, with 10 years of Marvel movies to train the audience and turn them all into comic book readers. When you're a comic book reader, as I used to be and still am to some degree and stuff like that, basically every month a new comic book would come out. If you collected, say, Batman or the Avengers or Spider-Man, or every month a comic comes out, new comic, monthly. Then at the end of the year, they would have what they called an annual, which was a comic that told a story that was kind of standalone, usually double-sized issue. And sometimes that annual from that particular title would tie into other annuals from other titles, and they'd do this massive crossover event across all the titles. And yeah, it was kind of gimmick to get your money and stuff, but you were into it, particularly if the story was wonderful. Secret Wars was one of those stories. For Marvel, let's see, for DC, Armageddon 2000, I think, was one of them and stuff like that. Legends was one of them as well. Of course, Crisis on Infinite Earths. So this is a concept very familiar to most comic book readers, comic book fans. The notion of like, diving right into a story because, hey, everybody fucking knows the backstory here. Because they spent 10 years painstakingly making these Marvel movies with care, by the time you get to Infinity War, boom, you launch in from the first frame, they don't even do the music over the big Marvel credit with the, like, look at all the movies we made, fucker. Look at our big fat Marvel dick as they unfurl it at the beginning. They were playing dialogue from the adventure. They had so much story to fucking tell that they couldn't even let you hear that music on the Marvel Studios, logo with the 10 lighting up, which I fucking love, made my nipples hard. They were like, we got too much story to tell. And bam, right away, you start hearing a distress call. And remember, like at the end of Thor Ragnarok, which we had such a good time and the Asgardians were saved and stuff. Like, there's that little PS scene where the boys, the brothers, Loki and Thor, are like, I think things are going to work out. And then that giant ship shows up. It's literally like 10 minutes later, or fucking hour later, when the Avengers Infinity War takes off is from there. It starts with us finding the Asgardian ship, spoilers for Thor Ragnarok as well, with all the refugees destroyed with a bunch of like dead bodies everywhere, man. And we're meeting Thanos for the first time in the movie. Now, we've met him in little pieces all throughout the Marvel movies throughout the years. Guardians of the Galaxy, very memorable. Of course, at the end of the Avengers, there's a little tease. I remember when I watched that, I was like, he looks like a big puppet. But he was CG. They've set him up, and then there was him grabbing the gauntlet going, fine, I'll get it myself. But man, oh man, like they did not let us know how deep and how well rendered this character was going to be. I know Thanos from the comics, and my Thanos, or the Thanos that I know from comics, is the one that's like, he wanted to kill half the universe to impress death. He was in love with death, and he was the Mad Titan, so he wanted to destroy half the universe just to impress death. They didn't do that in this movie, which I thought was such a good idea because they did something far better. They gave him motivation that made a lot more sense. Like Thanos is just like, look, whole fucking world, there's a lot of people in this universe and very limited resources, man. And so, the only way to save the universe is to half the population. And later on in the movie, he talks about one of the planets that did it to. He's like, what's happened since then, man? Kids never been hungry and shit like that. It's Christmas every day. He didn't say that. But, it's one of those things where you're like, man, oh man, like that That's a reasonable, and maybe it's not, it's irrational, but it's a reasonable request. The guy is trying to do something. Like the Avengers, he is also trying to do something to save the world, save the universe, but his is very extreme and nobody wants to try that sort of thing. It's genocide. That's never the answer, kids. Genocide's never the answer. Even though it seems sensible, like when Thanos lays it out, because it's not about race, or it's not about, I just want to hate on the world and I just want to rule the world and I just want to like crack it in half. It's literally a guy going like, I just think this is a smart play. And it's picking random, so anybody could die. Don't matter who's who. And so you see that guy looking when he walked past. He's like, I'm in somebody else's office. So I loved their presentation of Thanos. I love Thanos' children, Corvus Glaive, Proxima Midnight, so forth and so on. The Ebony Maw, the introduction, like right there on the Asgardian ship when, Thanos is talking his villain talk, and then finally, you hear the whole like, run from it, it comes and here I am, destiny's me. And then you see him like talking to Loki, and Loki is asking where the Tesseract is. He goes over and picks up fucking Thor, and it's so casual. Like, he didn't realize Thor was beating him on the ground behind him. Then he goes and picks him up, and it shows you the massive size of Thanos, which is one of the most impressive, if not the single most impressive, motion capture character I've ever seen. I'm not taking anything away from Andy Serkis and Gollum and Planet of the Apes, but like, they made this guy fucking way taller than a human being is, with way bigger hands and stuff like that. And they got all the subtle nuances of my man's performance, Josh Brolin, who did a great fucking job. So at the end of the day, man, it was like, that you got yourselves a character, a bad guy, which Marvel's always getting like shit on. The people are like, oh, the bad guys, they need better motivation. I don't necessarily agree. Some of the bad guys, of course, are more well thought out than others. But like at the end of the day, this one, in terms of having a big bad for, the be all end all, in terms of like, oh shit, this is the end of the first few phases of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, I mean, think about it. They don't have Doctor Doom. They don't have Galactus. There's some of their big baddie names, from the history of fucking comics. They start with Thanos, and Thanos is a well-known character. Don't get me wrong, Jim Starlin character. And Infinity Gauntlet is a very respected series and books. But, you ask your mom, you ever heard of Doctor Doom? Of course, Doctor Doom. She may not just go, oh, Fantastic Four, but she'd know Doctor Doom. But if you tell your mom 2 years ago, or even last year, or even 10 minutes ago, hey, man, you know who Thanos is? She wouldn't know. She'll never forget once she sees this Avengers movie. It's incredible. So right off the bat, you got a giant-ass fucking Thanos holding Thor by his little pea head and threatening to kill him. And, remember I was talking after Thor Ragnarok. I was like, they are definitely setting up. This man wants to be in my fucking Instagram, in my Facebook Live. Look at him. Linger. I'm telling you, man, like at the end of that flick, I was like, they're going to make Loki a good guy. They've been like his arc. They've been flipping him and shit. Yes, he attacked New York, with Thanos' army. I said, but I guarantee you they're flipping this guy. He's going to make him a good guy. And I thought they'd let him die heroically to save Thor, but he doesn't. He just dies in the fuck. I mean, he does try to save Thor. At first, he's just like, I don't give a fuck, kill him and shit. Then he can't take it. He's like, stop. And so Thanos is putting the fucking gauntlet right to Thor's head, just charging his brain up and shit. And so Loki, fucking produces the Tesseract. I was going to say Darkseid. Thanos crushes the Tesseract, and inside is one of the stones. He drops in the glove and shit like that. And what's his name? Homeboy, and the order may be a little juxtaposed. Loki, pulls a knife on Thanos. Like, seriously, bro? Weak Loki. And tries to stab him in the fucking throat. And Thanos has the Infinity Gauntlet with a stone or two in it, which he got pre-show. Before the movie began, he went and stole one of the stones from Xandar. So that means that everything that happened in Guardians of the Galaxy. Remember John C. McGinley, and he had the wife and the kid, and they were all happy at the end? You're like, right on, the Guardians saved him and shit. Dead, because they said he went to Xandar and stole the fucking stone and stuff. So he stops Loki and then picks Loki up by the neck and fucking chokes him out and kills him, cracks his neck. Loki dies. Like right in the opening 5 minutes of Avengers, they kill him and shit. And he doesn't have a moment with Thor where Thor gets to talk to him and he says, make a statue with the big bendy horns like Matt Damon did. I thought they'd do that. But they're better than I am at Marvel. They did something way better. So boom, first scene. And then right there, you're like, before Loki gets killed, man, here's the cool thing. Loki, is trying to give some shit to fucking Thanos. And, he's just like, we have a Hulk. There's a callback. And all of a sudden, bam, Hulk comes out of nowhere. Fucking Banner, because he was up in space with the Asgardians in Ragnarok. And he goes to fight Thanos, starts hitting him and shit. And the Thanos' children, they were sitting there going like, should we do something? The one guy's like, just let him have his fun. Ebony Maw's like, let him have his fun. And so Hulk like throws some shots and gets Thanos in a corner, and then Thanos just starts fighting back. And he punches Hulk in the shoulder, and Hulk reacts like your friend when you guys were wrestling or something like that, and we were punching each other in the arm, and you punched your arm, and they're like, oh man, like that ain't cool. And he fucking loses it. Like Hulk starts to like whimper and be like, oh, and then he gets his ass fucking beat, which is a beautiful sequence. Because you're sitting there going, this guy Thanos, who we don't really know other than like little pieces that we saw in the flicks previous, just fucking handed the Hulk his fat green ass. And oh my God, what does that mean? So meanwhile, before Loki gets killed, Hemdale is there on the floor, and he's like, he's the guy who used to control the Bifrost with the giant sword and shit. And so he's just like, oh, my sweet Satan. He don't say that, but he's just like, give me the magic power to fucking send Hulk home. And he fucking sends a beaten Hulk, who is going to turn into Bruce Banner, pew, across the golden bridge of Asgard, somehow to Earth. And, Thanos is like, you piece of shit. And he fucking kills Hemdale first, man, right in front of Thor. And Thor's like, you'll pay for that. And then he kills Loki, and then he fucking busts the Tesseract, and then he puts it in his glove, and he's like, what up? I'm going to fist the universe, fuckers. And then, boom, I think we're pretty much off and running. So first we spend some time, with what's his name? Doctor Strange. First we see, Doctor Strange going to get a sandwich, and Wong is just like, can you get me a sandwich? That makes some jokes about rupees and shit like that. And then all of a sudden, boom, Banner comes fucking soaring through the sky, right through the window of the Sanctum Sanctorum, right through the staircase, where if they were the monsters, he would have hit Spot. So, all of a sudden they're like, oh, he's laying down there, and he's like, Thanos is coming, Thanos is coming. Then we cut to Tony and Pepper jogging in New York. And for the first time, Tony's got something in his chest that we haven't seen in a while, looks like an arc reactor. And you're like, what? He took that out in Avengers 3. What's going on? And then you find out that it's something he's elected to put onto his chest. He could take it off. And you find out what it is in a little bit. What happens is Doctor Strange opens up a fucking window in reality, and he's just like, Tony Stark, I'm Dr. Stephen Strange, and I need your help to save the universe and shit. And then he's like, what? Fucking party magician? And then Bruce Banner comes out, and he's like, what's up, Tony? And he's like, Bruce, where you been? And Pepper knows Bruce somehow as well. She said Bruce. And then Tony decides to go. So where do they go next after that, man? I guess at that point, I know they eventually go to Sanctum, and they start fucking bullshitting with each other, start talking and be like, filling Tony in on the backstory about Thanos. This is something that Tony has been thinking about for a long time. He was haunted by it from the Avengers forward, man. They opened up a hole in the sky, blah, blah, blah. So, he's locking in going, fuck, this is the dude and shit. This is the problem child. This is the one I've been waiting for. And the interplay between Benedict Cumberbatch and Robert Downey Jr. is superb. Wonderful, man. It's great to see those two characters interacting just there. But those two performers are real fun. So, boom. All of a sudden, they start hearing some shit, people crazy outside and whatnot. Thanos sent his children to Earth. He's like, there are 2 Infinity Stones on Earth. Go get them. So he ain't even gonna bother with Earth. He's just gonna go, stay on Titan and shit. And he's gonna send his kids to go pick that shit up. So we're on Earth, and all of a sudden we see outside the Sanctum shit going on, and fucking the atmosphere is changing, people are running, and fucking things are helicopter crashes and shit like that. Or maybe the helicopter crashes at the end. I think that happened at the end. So all of a sudden, Tony's looking around and the heroes jump out on the street and they look up and there's a giant spaceship, that circle spaceship, shit, Lord of the Ring. And then you cut to Peter Parker, what up, Spider-Man, on the bus with Ned Leeds, and he gets his arm hair stands up and he fucking says to Ned, he's just like, I need a distraction. And Ned doesn't even hear him. He just sees the ship. He's like, we're all gonna fucking die when he sees the ship. Peter blasts out of the bus to go fucking help. What happens next? Showdown in the street, man. So Ebony Maw, the Maw meets our heroes. And they're trying to go after Strange because he's got in the Eye of Agamotto, the one of the stones. I'm not going to pretend, the Time Stone. That one I knew. So they come for that fucking stone. And then they have a kind of showdown where you get to see Ebony Maw's powers and stuff like that. And he can control like anything, throwing trees and ripping up pavement and shit like that. He looks cool. Tony calls him Squidward at one point. So you start fighting Tony's little chest thing. It has nanobites in it, nanotechnology, little robots that turn into his fucking suit. So now his suit just kind of covers him and stuff. No more pieces, tiny pieces. So they fight. Doctor Strange and Wong open up like time holes and stuff. So when my man throws some fucking rocks at him, they throw it right back at him. He gets tagged and shit. But he's pretty powerful and he looks down on everybody. He's got one of those voices and shit where he's like, you will die for the glory of Thanos. So Tony's keeps telling Doctor Strange, get the fuck out of here, man. If he's here for that fucking necklace, like at one point he says, to Spider-Man, he's just like, there's a wizard. They're trying to steal a necklace from a wizard. It was very funny. So Tony gets taken out by the big guy. I don't know what his name is, man. He's got this big ass hook and chain and shit. Knocks Tony the fuck down and stuff, like across Washington Square Park, I think it was. And then, or Union Square. And then just as he's about to crush Tony, fucking Spider-Man shows up and they've got that cute relationship that they put together in that other movie, man, in that Spider-Man flick. So Homecoming. So he calls him Mr. Stark. It's adorable. Later on, at one point in the movie, Doctor Strange goes, is this your ward? Like making a Robin joke. It's funny. So, he's like, what's the story? And he's like, there's a wizard with a necklace and they're trying to steal it. And so Spider-Man gets involved in the fight. Meanwhile, let's see, what else is happening when that happens? I know Doctor Strange where Wong opens up a time hole and that big ass guy goes through it and he gets his hand cut off and shit at one point. So the ship takes off. Ebony Maw captures Doctor Strange, uses the pavement, wraps him up and shit. And he's floating through the fucking city and Spider-Man's like swinging, chasing him and stuff. And they get up to the ship and the ship's going to take off. But, Iron Man's chasing after it. Spider-Man is up there as well. He's caught on. But since it's going to the outer atmosphere, he's like, I can't breathe, Mr. Stark. And Tony's like, fucking new suit. And all of a sudden, the fucking new Spider-Man suit that we saw at the end of Spider-Man Homecoming, the Iron Armor Spider-Man suit, Iron Spider, shoots out of like Tony's fucking lab or wherever and then attaches to Peter and suddenly he's got a suit just like Tony's now with nanotech and stuff. And it does way more cool things. And they need it because he's going up in fucking space. So him, Tony, Peter, Parker, and Doctor Strange now in the spaceship, but Doctor Strange captured and stuff. They're going to try to torture him to get the deadlock seal, whatever the fuck it is, off the Eye of Agamotto, so that the bad guys could get the fucking stone out of it and give it to Thanos. So that's what's happening up there. Meanwhile, down below on Earth, let's see, they go after Vision, because Vision, of course, an android, and he's got the fucking gem in his head and stuff. That's one of the gems. So boom, he gets fucking attacked. Him and the Scarlet Witch, who are hooked up. I love that, man, because I was a big fan of Vision and the Scarlet Witch miniseries when I was a kid. I stole it from a comic book store. Not a comic book store, a Five and Dime that sold comics on a spinner rack. So I was like, oh shit, they're spending time together, having sex and stuff like that. They don't show it and stuff, but she got herself a battery operated boyfriend, man, name of Vision. He got Vision. So all of a sudden, it's Proxima Midnight, Corvus Glaive show up and attack fucking Vision and the Scarlet Witch, and they're trying to get the gem out of his head, the stone out of his head. And They fight him off, and you get to see the full glory of Scarlet Witch's powers as she's like, fucking protecting her man, taking him out of there and stuff. So Tony, like when they were at the Sanctum, they're like, hey man, Vision's got that stone in his head. How do we find Vision? And Tony's like, we could call Steve Rogers would know. And him and Steve Rogers ain't been talking since Civil War, but he's got that old ass cell phone. He's going to go call him. But then all of a sudden Thanos' kids showed up, fucking outside. So the phone goes down to the ground, but somebody else picked up the phone and said, I'm going to call Steve Rogers. And I think it was Bruce Banner, if I remember correctly. So they want to, basically stories are starting here. We're putting the teams together. The Corvus Glaive character, where is it? Yes, in the middle of attacking Vision and Scarlet Witch, they're in Edinburgh, Scotland. And they crash into a train station because Europe has lots of train stations. And, they're going to get fucking cornered. And Proxima Midnight is real huge. And so is Corvus Glaive and stuff. They're supposed to be married in the comics, if I remember correctly. And they're, about to attack them while they're down for the count. And then all of a sudden, fucking Proxima Midnight sees somebody as the trains go by in the distance. And it's that shot of our man Cap coming out of the darkness with a fucking beard, looking like a bear, man. I was twinked out for him. I was like, hairy Cap, I'm there for this. I said, woof. That's what I said. So he comes out the darkness and he fucking, the Proxima Midnight throws her shit out. He catches it, whips it back. And then all of a sudden, Black Widow with white hair shows up and she starts fucking fighting. And then Falcon Sam shows up and he starts fucking fighting and shit. And they stab Corvus Glaive, and she and his wife's like, get up, bitch. And he's like, I can't, and shit. And then she ports them out of there. She's like, this is the closest she'll ever come to killing us, fucker. And ports them out of there and stuff like that. So, they're like, where do we go? What do we do? And Steve's like, I got an idea. I know a place we can go. First he says, let's go home. So they go back to Avengers mansion and stuff, to the not the mansion, but the base that Tony had built. Upstate New York. And we find out that, Hawkeye ain't going to be in the movie because family. And Ant-Man ain't going to be in the movie because Ant-Man and the Wasp, which the trailer for it looks fucking amazing. Plus, they've got, over 25 characters to deal with, man. They could let go of those two. So at this point, the things are starting to put into motion where you're like, oh, shit. Meanwhile, they're cutting up to space, where Doctor Strange is all, fucking being tortured by the Maw. And Ebony Maw's like, if I were to return without the stone, there would be problems and shit like that. And Doctor Strange won't let it go. And, Peter Parker, of course, is played as the pop culture junkie that he was in Homecoming. So he says to Mr. Stark, he's just like, remember that old movie Aliens? Because they're on a spaceship. And so Tony shows up right where Doctor Strange is getting tortured and shit. And Ebony Maw is just like, I'm going to fucking smoke you too. And then he's like, yeah, but the kid's seen more movies. And all of a sudden, he blasts the fucking side of the spaceship open, and fucking Ebony Maw just gets sucked out. And just like in Guardians, he freezes in space and shit. Then Tony, Iron Man, closes the fucking hole again. And so, boom, they've saved Doctor Strange. But they're still, they can't turn the ship around. They're still on their way to wherever the ship's going, which turns out to be Titan. So that's what's going on with Tony. They're going to fucking Thanos' homeworld. Tony, at one point, Doctor Strange is like, let's get the fuck out of here. And Tony's like, well, if we go home with the Eye of Agamotto, that's just going to bring people to Earth. And they fuck with us. He's going, the other thing we could do is take the fight right to him. And he's like, you want to bring this fucking stone right to him? And he's like, it's the only thing he's not expecting at this point. And, they don't say it, but it's like, keep him off Earth, for Christ's sakes. Thanos, doesn't, the whole time he ain't going to Earth. That was not his plan. So we're seeing flashbacks. We're spending time with Thanos as well. And the Guardians of the Galaxy. That's right. At one point we go to space. And so we see the Guardians for the first time since the movie. They're all together, including Mantis. And they've gotten a distress signal. They're responding to a distress signal sent by the Asgardians. And they show up, and that's when Thor hits the windshield. I'm sure you saw that in the trailer. So then Thor meets the Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's a really fun scene where, Star-Lord is just like, he ain't all that. And everyone else is like, this guy's a fucking god. Drax is kind of crushing on Thor as well. But Thor and Rocket hook up the best, and so they decide to go off to this place to build a weapon. Thor doesn't have his hammer. Hela destroyed it in Ragnarok. So he said, in order to kill Thanos, he's like, I got to go get a weapon, make this weapon. The heart of a dying star fires up, fucking forms a weapon. I got to go there. I don't know the name, Nevermore or whatever fuck. And so Rocket goes with him, as does a teenage Groot, who all he wants to do is play video games. An old Asteroid or Defender video game or something like that from Peter's Star-Lords from like the 80s, probably in his backpack. So they go off, and then the other Guardians stay together, and they're going to nowhere, where they had gone in Guardians of the Galaxy, the big giant Titan's head that people were mining out of and stuff like that, because they know there's a stone being held there by the Collector. So when they go off there, they find nowhere has like been ransacked, and the fucking Collector is getting the shit beat out of him by Thanos. And so apparently somewhere in that scene, if you look in the background of the Collector's collection, they got Tobias Funke blued out, as a blue man in one of the cages. I didn't see it, but I read that on the internet, which I thought was funny. I did see in the credits that it said characters from Arrested Development, property of Fox, and I was like, what characters? We all missed that. So the Guardians are hiding and shit like that, and Gamora, had said to Peter prior to this, she's like, fucking Thanos gets me, you got to kill me. And he's like, I ain't gonna do that. She's like, you got to promise me, Peter, you got to fucking kill me, because I know something that'll make all the difference for this guy, and fucking, like, if he finds out, the universe is fucked. So Peter's like, all right, I will. They go to attack Thanos, Gamora particularly, and Drax and stuff. But Gamora kills him, like fucking stabs him. He's like, oh, why would you do that? And then all of a sudden it all disappears. And Thanos reveals that, like, he used a gauntlet to create an illusion. He has the reality stone. So he's like, reality's what I want it to be, motherfucker. And so he takes Gamora and gets the fuck out of Dodge and stuff, leaving the rest of the Guardians there. And so those Guardians are, how do they get from nowhere? Oh, they go to Titan to find fucking Thanos, to find Gamora. So they go to Titan. Tony and Peter and Doctor Strange on Ebony Maw's ship goes to Titan as well, and crash lands on Titan. So when they crash land there, they get attacked by the Guardians of the Galaxy, and there's a bit of a scuffle, and then a funny exchange about, like, I'm from Missouri. He's like, that's on Earth. Why are you being a dick and attacking us and stuff? Fun interplay between Tony and Peter as Star-Lord and Iron Man meet. And throughout the whole fucking movie, there's these wonderful meetings between characters that hadn't met yet, and it brings a comic book universe to life in a way that, like, it used to when I actually read this shit on page. All these people know each other. How cool and shit. Or they're meeting for the first time, or they don't get along, but they will because they're heroes and they have a common goal. So that's what's happening on Titan. Meanwhile, Captain America is like, I know where we got to go, because the Vision got all fucked up by his fight. And he's got stabbed, like, through the body and shit like that. He couldn't phase. So he's, like, weak and dying, and they're like, I know somebody who could fix him, or we got to go someplace. And so they take him to Wakanda. And we go back to Wakanda with the Black Panther, and Shuri, his sister, the princess, is looking at Vision and trying to fucking see if she could piece them together. And she's like, you guys did it wrong and shit. And they're like, we're not as smart as you. So Black Panther's like, T'Challa's like, can you fix him? She's like, yeah, but I need all the time I could get. Meanwhile, Wakanda is about to be under attack. All of a sudden, some shit from space drops. They got the shield, so, like, it hits the shield and fucking, like, nothing happens. What does they call him? The White Wolf, or, I think it was the White Wolf. What's his name? Bucky. He's been laying low in Wakanda and getting fixed. And so they pull him out of retirement and give him his arm back. Man, it's time for the Winter Soldier and shit like that. So they're about to be under attack. Fucking one of the ships drops from the sky and hits the shield and just disintegrates. And Bucky's like, I love this place. Wakanda's protected as fuck. Then they go face Proxima Midnight on the other side of, like, the shield wall. And, they're like, fuck you. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? We're on the other side of the shield wall. These ships drop out the sky, and all these fucking animals that you saw with, like, multiple arms could run and shit start racing at the shield and just burning themselves, like, trying to get through it. It cuts them in half, and they don't give a fuck. They're just mindless animals and stuff. But a few start getting through, and then they start fighting our heroes and whatnot. There's a shot in the trailer that they showed a bunch of heroes running in the jungle, including Hulk. Bullshit. Hulk wasn't in that shot. spoilers, Hulk don't show up again, after you see him in the beginning of the movie. He fights to stay in Banner and doesn't, which sounds dirtier than I meant to. But he don't come out ever again. So that lie was total. That scene, that shot in the trailer of them all running, bullshit. I call it bullshit. Don't matter. The movie's brilliant. So they're fighting on Wakanda, like all the Avengers and whatnot, against the invaders. And one point Black Panther's like, man, they're gonna go around the shield. He's like, open the shield. So they open the shield. So the fight comes in hard and thick and fast and stuff. So they're going at it toe to toe, man. And meanwhile, the other storyline is Thor and the rabbit, as he calls Rocket, and Groot get to this planet, where all the weapons are made, including where Mjolnir was forged. And it's the forge is run by a giant dwarf who is played by, our man Tyrion from Game of Thrones. And but Thanos, he had made the Infinity Gauntlet for Thanos, and then Thanos said, fuck you, your hands are mine. So he's got these big, like, metal gloopy hands and shit. And the whole place has been shut down. Everyone's killed, and the forge fire is out. So Thor's got to restart it, and he does that, fucking using his super strength. And then he's got to hold open the door so that the fucking light of the star, dying star, can beam right through him into the weapon so they can forge it and shit like that. And after all this, it's Stormbreaker, the fucking big-ass battle axe and stuff that's got Groot's arm for an axe handle in a pretty metal moment where Groot picks it up and pulls it together. It's like, and then cuts his own fucking hand off and shit. So at that point, Thor is armed and ready to fucking go kill Thanos and shit. So all of our stories are now kind of coming together and whatnot, including in the Battle of Wakanda. All of a sudden, Thor shows up with fucking Stormbreaker and just starts taking fuckers out, man. The battle turns and shit. Meanwhile, up on Titan, Thanos meets Tony Stark, the Avengers, and the Guardians of the Galaxy. Because Thanos, at one point, he went off to this other world, man, where, Gamora knew where one of the stones, the Soul Stone, was. So, and before the movie came out, there was some artwork about the stones, and the Soul Stone had a picture of Iron Man on it. So people were like, ooh, maybe the arc reactor is the Soul Stone. Turns out that's not the case at all. Soul Stone is in a place that is guarded by the haunted, and this was so dope, so metal. Nobody told us this was coming, but as a fan of this movie, I was delighted that they called back to this. Red Skull. Red Skull is in the scene, and he's like, his damn job, the job of the damned, is to watch out, for this fucking stone, and he can never have it himself. Remember, he held on to the Tesseract and shit in Captain America First Avenger, and then he disappeared. That's where he went. He was a damned soul, and he looks fucking damn good, man. But it wasn't Hugo Weaving playing. It was somebody else. I think his voice was done by Richard Marquand, which I think is that guy who's on The Walking Dead. In any event, cool that he was there. What a nice touch. What a nice, throw to the fans of, I wonder where happened to Red Skull. There's where he is. Nothing good comes from bad guys, man. Bad plans and shit like that. And he's telling Thanos, he's just like, if you want to get the Soul Stone, you got to throw something off this cliff that you love or loves you. And Gamora's laughing at his fat ass because she's just like, nobody fucking loves you and you don't love nothing. And he starts crying and shit like that. And she's like, you crying. And then the Red Skull is like, he's not crying for himself, and then fucking Thanos turns on Gamora, who he actually really likes. The way they portrayed in the movies, he calls her his daughter. They show you the flashback scene, how he met her, when he went to destroy her world. She was like a little lost kid that he kind of took under his wing, turned him into the daughter. But she, he took her to her sister, Nebula, where she was all fucked up, because she had mostly robotic parts, and Thanos was torturing her. So, Gamora had to break down and tell Thanos where the Soul Stone was. So there they are. She's on the planet with him. And Thanos grabs her hand and fucking drags her to the edge. He's all crying and shit like that. Throws her off. So he had to destroy something he loved, get rid of something he loved, trade something he loved for the Soul Stone. And he traded Gamora's life. It's really fucking heartbreaking. And Peter had the chance, prior to that, to kill her. Like she said, kill me. And he went to shoot her, but Thanos turned it into bubbles coming from the gun. So boom, she gets killed, and he gets the fucking Soul Stone. And he's all bummed about killing her, but he's almost there, man. He's just like, I can't let you put me off my mission. I gave up my mission once before. I can't let anybody fucking do this anymore. And he throws her off, and he's got the soul stone. So then there's only one stone left to get at that point. And it's two. He's got to get the stone out of Vision's head, Thanos, and then he has to get the time stone, from the eye of Agamotto. So how does he do that? Let's see. He does that in which order? First, he gets it's him on Titan. And it's the Avengers and the Guardians versus Thanos. And it's such an incredible sequence to watch all these heroes attacking him and him being held off from like being mighty and shit like that. Oh, it's fucking dope. And then, at a certain point, they gang up on Thanos. It was Peter's plan, Star-Lord's plan. And they're all holding a piece of him. And then Doctor Strange opens up a hole in the sky and fucking Mantis drops down, lands on Thanos and does the sleep thing and puts him kind of under, which is such a nice touch of pulling together all those elements from other movies, Marvel movies that we've seen. Like the moment she drops and grabs his head, I'm sitting there in the audience going, yeah! So she's putting him and he's glossing over and shit. And, she's an empath. So they're all struggling to get the Infinity Gauntlet off his fucking hand. Peter and Iron Man and shit like that. And, Doctor Strange using magic and shit. And, he's like, like he's fucking out, but he's muttering and shit like that. And Peter's like, we got you, piece of shit. Where's Gamora? Where'd you do with Gamora? And like Mantis is like got her hands on his head and she's like, he's bereft. Like he's sad. He's fucking, whatever the word is when you're sad, somebody dies. And they're like, why? Where's Gamora? And shit like that. And finally, it outs that he had to kill Gamora to get the Soul Stone. And Peter goes ape shit. He's like, you didn't have to kill her and shit. And, Tony's like, stay cool. Mr. Lord, he calls him Mr. Lord at one point, Star-Lord. He's like, stay cool. We almost got the glove off him. And fucking Star-Lord, punches, Thanos in the face. And it takes him out, wakes him up, and he throws everybody off and shit like that and starts beating ass. And then, Tony forms like a sword, a fire sword, laser sword, from his suit and goes at Thanos and shit like that. And Thanos like grabs him, stops him, breaks it off, and then fucking stabs Tony with it. And when I saw it in a press screening in New York, that was the moment that I fucking screamed. I was like, no! I was like Luke Skywalker watching fucking Ben Kenobi get killed. I had a suspicion they were going to try to kill him, or he might have gotten killed, but I wasn't emotionally ready for the death of Tony Stark, man. That's how great a performance Robert Downey Jr. has given for 10 fucking years, that I love that character so much that I was verbally distraught at the thought of him dying. But Doctor Strange at one point, on Titan was doing this shit, and he was going through permutations of the future. They're like, what are you doing? And he's just like, I've looked into the future, 16 million possible endings to the scenario. And we lose in all of them, and he's just like, how many do we win? And he's like, just one. So he's got, Thanos has them on the ropes and he's beating the shit out of fucking Tony. Tony's dying after he's been stabbed. And Robert Downey Jr.'s performance is so good. You believe like, this is it. They're fucking going to let him die right here on Titan. And, he's giving a speech, Thanos, where he's just like, I hope they remember you and shit like that. It's cool when they meet at one point, he's like, Stark. And Iron Man's like, you know me? And he's just like, yes, I too am cursed with knowledge. Like, it was fucking dope, man, that he knew Tony Stark's reputation precedes him into the fucking stars. Oh, it was fantastic. But there is Tony dying, and Doctor Strange tells Thanos that he will give him the time stone from the eye of Agamotto. And he's like, no tricks, wizard. And he's like, no, I'll fucking do it. And everyone's like, don't. Tony's like, don't. And he gives him the fucking stone, releases it and stuff. And he puts the stone in his fucking glove and then fucks off and shit. So Tony's like looking at Doctor Strange like, how could you do it? Doctor Strange did it to save Tony's life, but he said it was the only way. And I think that was in reference to the 16 million ways in which they lose and the one way they win. Like Doctor Strange knew, the only path to victory is Thanos has to He has to get all the stones, man, and he has to fucking do what he's going to do. So meanwhile, Thanos then is like, there's one more stone to get, and it's the stone in Vision's head. And so, Vision had told Scarlet Witch, like, you're the only one with enough power in the Avengers. If it comes to it, you have to fucking kill me before he gets that stone. You have to destroy me, Wanda. And she's like, I don't want it. He's like, you got it. And she's like, all right. So they're on Wakanda, and the battle's fucking fierce and stuff. And then Thanos fucking shows up. He's like, it's time. We're out of time. Like, you got to do it. And Wanda's like, I don't want to fuck it. And she starts killing her love, which is heartbreaking. So heartbreaking. What's her name? Elizabeth Olsen's performance, really fucking great. They make her so tortured in those movies. She had to watch her brother die in one movie and shit. Then she got in trouble for blowing up people in another movie. And then this movie, they force her to kill Vision. And she's like crying while she's doing it and stuff. And he keeps going like, it's okay, it's okay. He tells her he loves her. It's really sad. And then as Thanos is like trying to get them, and that's when you see that sequence from the trailer, which is fantastic. Captain America fighting Thanos, where Thanos throws a fucking punch and Cap catches the fucking punch, and Thanos is like, are you fucking serious? This mere man? There's a real nice moment on the battlefield where, this is what happens is, before we get there, Thanos is trying to get to Vision and Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch destroys Vision, and it breaks her fucking heart and stuff. And, fucking Thanos is like, God damn it, if only I had more time, and whatever the fuck. But he's like, and time is not a problem for me, bitch. And he just Doctor Stranges the time backwards, and fucking homeboy comes together again, Vision, and Wanda's screaming like, no! And then fucking Thanos picks him up and just plucks the fucking gem out of his head. In a really cool effect, he fucking dies. Like, all the vibrancy and color of Vision just goes instantly fucking gray, and he hits the ground like a fucking husk. It's really fucking haunting and shit. So then, bam, he drops it, and he's got the full fucking glove and shit like that. And that's when all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Thor shows up with Stormbreaker and fucking puts it right into Thanos' chest and shit like that. He's like, ah, and Thor's burying in his chest. And it looks like, oh, fuck, like this is the ending, if it was a real movie and not like the 10-year summation of 19 other movies, an epic. It probably would have ended right there with his axe in the fucking chest. And Thor's, he's like, I told you I'd kill you. And Thanos is like, you should have went for the head. And then he fucking shows that his hand is free. And as set up in the movie, Gamora says, like, he could just snap his fingers. If he has all 6 stones in the Infinity Gauntlet, he could snap his fingers and half the universe would be decimated. So he's just like, you should have went for the head. And then he snaps. And I swear to God, very few movies I've ever been to in my life affected an audience in the way it affected an audience when I was there. The audience, like, as a whole, collectively gasped. Like, it was fucking amazing, man. Everyone was like, you're shitting me. We went on this journey and that? Like, he did it. And they cut to Thanos, like, in this kind of dream state with a little Gamora kid. And she's like, did you do it? And he's like, I did. And she's like, what did it cost? And he's like, everything. And then all of a sudden, boom, we're back in the world. And Thor's like, what did you do? And you see the gauntlet is all fucked up and shit because Thanos used it. And even though he's got the axe in his chest, he opens up a hole and fucking disappears through it and shit like that, gets away. And all the heroes are like, what happened? What happened? And then all of a sudden, what's his name? Fucking a Winter Soldier, Bucky, is like, Steve? And he starts disappearing, starts dissolving, fucking going away and shit. And everyone else, like every other person starts fucking dissolving. Groot dissolves and shit like that. And Groot had a real nice moment with Steve Rogers on the battlefield where he's like, I am Groot. And he goes, I am Steve Rogers. It was very cool. So in any event, everyone starts disappearing. Almost everyone. Like Black Panther disappears. Spider-Man disappears in a really poignant moment on Titan where he starts dissolving and shit like that. And he's like, Mr. Stark. And like, he's all, and it's so sad. It's like the moment of every World War II movie with the young platoon soldier on the ground and shit. And Tony's like fucking racked with guilt. He's like, no. And Peter's just like, I don't want to go. Like real sad, like a kid would be. And then he fucking dissolves and shit like that. And so they, like, he snapped and they did it. They fucking killed off half the goddamn universe, man. You watch some of your favorite heroes go. Only the original Avengers lineup is still presented at the end of it, man. And, they cut to a shot of Thanos. And he said, they were like, what happens when this is done? He's like, well, if it's done, man, I'll wake up one morning, on a grateful world and fucking my work will be done, bitch. So they show him like limping over to the doorway, his work done, because he did what he wanted to do. He destroyed half the universe to save it. And then they cut to fucking credits. Just says directed by the Russo brothers. Like, they did not fuck around. They literally just like, let's end the movie Empire Strikes Back as fuck. Let them snap and take all these fuckers out, man. It was crazy. Dead silence in the theater as the credits rolled and nobody moved. Granted, we were in a savvy New York audience with a lot of press and stuff, but then I saw it in Iowa, Des Moines, like 3-4 days later with the general public. Same thing. Nobody fucking moved. What a well-trained audience, man. After all those years of watching those post-credit scenes, it's fantastic. So everyone sat and we all waited because we're like, there's no way there's not a post-credit scene in this. And then all of a sudden, they cut to Tony Stark and Maria Hill. Not Tony Stark, Maria Hill and Nick Fury. And, all of a sudden you were sitting there going, oh shit, I just realized Sam Jackson hasn't been in the movie yet. Oh, look, they saved him for the end piece and stuff. And they're in a car and they get hit by another car and they look in the car and that person, there's no body there. And then a helicopter goes out of control. Presumably people are disappearing as they were, as we saw in Wakanda and on Titan. And, Maria Hill is just like, before that happened, she was like, there's, disturbance over Wakanda, and stuff like that. So all of a sudden, people start disappearing, and Maria Hill, she's like, Sergeant Fury or whatever, and she's disappearing. And then Nick Fury immediately runs over to the car into his bag, and he grabs this device, and his hand starts dissolving. And he goes, motherfuck, and they dissolves out before he could say fuck. And the device he was holding drops to the ground. And I might fucking cry doing this because I screamed in the movie theater so loud. I was so happy about it. So the device, which is a pager, drops it down. They push in, on it on the ground, and it says sending. And it looks old as shit, like an old 80s pager and shit. And then finally it says like sending, and then a symbol comes up. And spoilers, so well done, these movies. It's Captain Marvel's symbol. Now, for those of you that are like, so what does that mean and shit? Oh my God, Captain Marvel is going to be Marvel's first female superhero driven film. But Captain Marvel is the one that will be able to right all these wrongs. The next two movies that come out from Marvel before the next Avengers movie, Avengers 4, is going to be Ant-Man and the Wasp, which is out in like 2 fucking months and the trailer looks amazing. But then after that is going to be the Captain Marvel movie. And we're going to meet Captain Marvel. It's set in the 80s. And when Nick Fury was younger. So presumably at the end of that movie, before Captain Marvel goes off into space or some such shit, she gives him the fucking pager and says, if you ever need me, or he gives her the device and says, if I ever need you, I'm going to get in touch with you and shit. So right before Nick disappeared out of existence, he put the emergency call out to Captain Marvel. And Captain Marvel is the most powerful hero in the Marvel universe. So, oh my God. My only regret to that whole movie, the only thing I didn't like, I was like, you sons of bitches, I got to wait a fucking year. A year! But you know what? We got a lot of movies coming out between now and then, including 2 really cool looking fucking Marvel movies. And Ant-Man and the Wasp and Captain Marvel. That's going to set up, what will happen in 4. Man, those Russo brothers, they deserve a special recognition Oscar. If they want to compete with everybody else, fine. But they deserve, like, when they give the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs 7 little Oscars, these motherfuckers deserve 2 gigantic dick-shaped Oscars for the stones, the Infinity Stones on these boys. The movie they made. It's so fucking wonderful. It's so epic, man. I've seen it twice. I'm going back a 3rd time to watch it within the next fucking week, man. I dug it. I thought it was the achievement of a dream. When they made that first Iron Man movie 10 years ago this week, it came out, they weren't sitting there going, one day we will definitely get to Thanos. It was a dream, bitch. Like a dream. Sitting there going, like, wouldn't it be great? And they did it. Like after 10 years. This is like watching Friends succeed at something. And you were rooting for them so fucking hardcore, man. You're like, God damn it, they did it. Not only have they made 19 utterly watchable movies, but fucking they made this one movie to sum them all up in a giant-sized fucking annual type movie. Oh, it's fantastic. So there it is, man. Folks been asking me, what's your fucking Avengers review? I didn't want to do it right away because last time I reviewed a movie right away, people were like, you piece of shit, wait till I see it next time. So I figure it's almost a week. If you haven't seen the Avengers yet, what the fuck is wrong with you? How un-American. If you haven't seen it, go see it, come back, watch this review. 4 stars, 26 thumbs up. Like, honestly, easily a top 3 Marvel movie, if not a top 2. I'm a big Iron Man fan. The original Iron Man, the one that set the spine of the entire Marvel universe. But somebody says, they did nothing risky, nothing ballsy about killing off characters. Everyone knows they'll be back. You don't know that. I mean, yes, of course, it's safe to assume Black Panther and Peter Parker did not die. But there's death there, man. And it's still ballsy. It's still fucking big. I'm sorry. I know some people are like, hey, man, if they all come back, it was cheap. No, it wasn't. It's a fucking magic trick, man. This is fucking cool. That's what movies are about. Capture your imagination shit. This one captured mine, captured a lot of people's imaginations. And if you're one of those people that's like, didn't capture mine, I feel fucking ripped off. Well, then, that's your prerogative. But man, I feel sorry for you. You missed out on something fucking magical. That movie, you don't see a movie like that very, very often. It's fucking huge, man. I watched that movie and I was like, I call myself a filmmaker? Pfft, what an idiot. So there it is, man. Fucking go see it again. If you're sitting there, I'm on the fence about this movie. Come on. So who was it? Walt Flanagan I talked to. The guy from Comic Book Men, one of my best friends in the world. And, he runs Jane Silent Bob's Secret Stash. So I was like, what'd you think of Avengers? He's like, I fucking loved it. And Walter's he's not like me. I'm an easy mark where I'm like, was it in color? I love it. But he doesn't always go for everything, but he's like, I fucking loved it. And I was like, what about that ending? He goes, honestly, he's gone, the only thing that I would have changed in the movie to make it remotely better was when he sent that message, what came up was a number 4. And I was like, oh, don't you hate that when your friend writes a better version of the movie that you already love and shit? You're like, God damn it. But you know what? I'm happy for the Captain Marvel thing. But yes, coming up, by the time they're done with Avengers 4, man, we're into a world where Disney or Marvel, Marvel Studios has the characters back that they've never had before, like X-Men, like the Fantastic Four, thanks to this Fox deal. So who knows what happens? For some people, like, they're not going to let all these people die. Maybe they do, because they got a lot more characters to come off the bench. I love this movie. I cried twice, at least, during the flick, and screamed multiple times. I was so, loud. I got in Los Angeles, people get very loud at the movies and stuff. In New York, not so much. And we were in a New York screening, and I was the loud one. Go, no! And yeah! And shit like that. There was a little kid sitting across from me. He saw me getting into it and being vocal, and he got vocal, too, about things. He'd be like, yes! And look over at me to be like, this is cool. We're not going to get thrown out. It's the kind of movie that makes you yell out loud, man. What a great audience watching experience I had watching this flick. There it is. That's my review. For those of people that are like, oh my God, Disney pays them money. I fucking wish that they would give me money to blow the Avengers, but I just like the movie. Can't it just be that a guy likes the movie? Fuck, man. That's it. It's just fandom, folks. I'm a 47-year-old man, but I'm watching movies that I never thought I'd see in my entire life. And they're crushing them. So I like them, man. I can't help it. I make no apologies. Thanks for hanging out. It was a really long review. WeWork, folks. Look at this world behind us. I'm going to go out and get some fucking, they had some vegan food out there for those of us that, can't enjoy an animal food product and stuff. Thanks for hanging out. I'm coming to Canada next week. Calgary, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Vancouver. If you're around, come see me do shows with Jason Mewes or Ralph Garman. There it is, man. That's my Avengers Infinity War review from WeWork here in Chelsea, the home of Doctor Strange. This is Kevin Smith, man. Thanks for, look at that, 59 minutes. What a fool I am. Thank you.